Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Horaney, and these are my colleagues, Zach Roberts and Emily Vanderlaan. And together, we had the pleasure of working with Perkins Coie to develop a system on gift card regulations, and we're excited to show you guys what we've come up with. So we're going to break down our semester and the problem that we were given and how we turned this problem into a viable solution. We'll talk about the system that we used to create the solution and then what's to come next. So our problem really dealt with gift card regulations and how extensive they are. They vary state by state. They're really hard to locate and navigate when you're with your clients, and it's very time consuming. So currently an intake can take 30 minutes for a large law firm, followed with multiple meetings and heavy research. For smaller firms without readily available information, this process can take even longer, upwards of an hour. So currently, our clients are doing intake over the phone. They're then consulting a Bloomberg spreadsheet for research after with back and forth emails. And our system will effectively merge this intake and research stages and flag issues for attorneys to research. So you can have 3 different gift cards. There are discount packs, oral gift cards, and cashback rewards. We kind of focused our semester on oral gift cards, which are those purchased over a system like Amazon Alexa or Google Home. So we wanted to show how kind of the laws are different by state. So with fee restrictions, those with laws in that area are in blue and without are in red. And keep in mind, even if it is in blue, the laws could be different. So when Jeff Bezos wants to sell a gift card over his Amazon Alexa, there's a lot of regulations and laws he needs to be aware with to comply. A fast intake system would really help him kind of effectively help his consumers.
Thank you. What's featured here are some testaments from both our project partners as well as clients that use gift cards. And really what it came down to is they both wanted a more efficient, more time-sensitive system in place than the current process. So what's currently done at Perkins is there's a Bloomberg spreadsheet that lists all of the pertinent state laws and regulations. From there, a Perkins attorney has to go through and scan that entire spreadsheet to get an answer. So we really wanted to create a more user-facing, friendly design. Our solution was to automate this process and to build a system that could handle the intake process for these attorneys. This speeds up the entire process because, as Nick mentioned, this initially merges the research process along with the intake process. Again, the current intake process is about 30 minutes. With our tool, we believe we can get it down to 5 to 10. So that's a 300% increase in efficiency overall. So the reasons that we think this system is better, again, with the merging system, it also cuts back a lot of the back and forth communication from Perkins with their clients. Ultimately, this achieves the goal of being more time sensitive and efficient overall. We ultimately decided to go with Neota as our platform. We felt that this was more intuitive with the workflow and the logic that we were hoping to bring. So throughout these next few slides, you'll be able to see a little bit of that workflow and understand why we thought Neota was the best choice. Initially, we started with a very broad overview of our workflow. As you can see, these are all the different components that we had to focus on while we were managing these gift card laws. Once we had this broad overview, we then took each of these individual components and we did a little bit more in-depth workflow. As you can see, this is just for the disclosure of terms, and so we kind of built onto this workflow depending on whether the client answered yes or no to our questions. And again, we did this before we even began building in Neota.
So as Emily mentioned, we started off with a workflow, and that really provided the skeletons for what we're going to do through the logical system through Neota. Here's a sample variable that we use. We really tried to make it as simple as possible because of how complicated these laws can be. That being said, even though that's a simple variable right there, they can get more complicated depending on the variable used. Here you can see that while the previous variable had 2 paths, this one has 4. However, through Neota, we were able to make sure that no matter what path the client goes down, they're still going to end up at the end of the survey and get the information that they need. So now what a typical client will see is a question such as this. And as you can see, we utilized pop-up box technology to help explain to the client exactly what we mean by a term, so that not only do they know exactly what we're looking for, but that way we can get the most accurate information back for Perkins Coie. Now, as you can see, there's a yes or no option there. So if they answer yes, it goes down to another set of questions. However, if it goes to no, it doesn't kick them out to another variable. Rather, they get this screen here that kind of explains what they, like a little blip of information for them so that they can double check with their systems to make sure that they're still in compliance with the majority of state laws. Once the client finishes, they'll get this final report here that sort of tells them what they answered and kind of gives them some information to kind of whet their appetite a little bit until that first meeting with the attorney. Now, while the attorney gets another report, they'll get this one and they'll get their own report. And while the reports are very similar to one another, the attorney report's a little different in that we utilized a red flag concept so that if the client answered no to something that they should have answered yes to, the attorney can automatically see in a very visual way, oh, they said no to this, I need to talk to this about them during that meeting. So the attorney can then use this information, email to the client, and set up that first meeting. Now, instead of that first meeting being a get-to-know phase and an information gathering phase, both the client and the attorney kind of know what to expect going into it, and it just makes that first meeting far more efficient. So what's next? Hopefully, Perkins Coie will be able to user test this with their current clients, and hopefully, depending on what the clients give them, they can utilize the logic flow that we have in here and implement it to answer the 2 questions that we didn't get to. Thank you for your time today.